an astronaut, a doctor, a basketball player. You guys might be wondering what these have in common. This is the response that most normal kids and my hometown friends told me that they would want to be when they grew up. When I was 10 years old, I decided that when I grew up, I wanted to be a pyrotechnician. And for those of you that don't know what that is, that's like the person who organizes fireworks shows and launches them off and safely makes fireworks in a lab and things like that. So when we're young, we usually gravitate to one thing or another. Chanel might have gravitated towards American Girl dolls or Teletubbies. Did I nail it?
At a certain age, yes.
Clayton might have liked to play Club Penguin. We don't know. But personally, I was obsessed with fireworks ever since a young age. So I'm about to share with you the story of when I accidentally bought $3,000 worth of fireworks. And I'm trying to explain to you guys why you need to be very careful when you use the internet and why you should never let your dreams get away from you. So my family's had fireworks from ever since I can remember. My dad's a lot like me, so he likes things like that. And I'm from Oregon. And for those of you who are from the Pacific Northwest, you know that Oregon is a state that does not allow fireworks. You can have sparklers, you can have the little fountains, but anything that goes above 4 feet, I think, is illegal. And so luckily for me, my dad is an outside salesman, and he has a bunch of customers in Washington. So he would always drive up to the Indian reservations outside the casino, buy some fireworks, claim that he's having lunch with a customer or two, and then come back down, no questions asked. So I remember I was at a YMCA summer camp when I was young, and my dad drops me off, and before he drops me off in the morning, he's like, "Hey buddy, I'm gonna go get some fireworks today if I have time." So I was like, "Okay, awesome." And so the entire day I was just like thinking, like counting down the seconds until he came to pick me up. I didn't make a single shot in our basketball game that day because I just only focused on the fireworks. And he gets there, and he's on the phone, and I hop in the car. I'm like, "Hey, where's the fireworks?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't have time to go get them." And so I was absolutely crushed. The whole ride home, I was sobbing. And we finally get home, and he's like, "Hey, can you get my bag out of the back of my truck?" So I go to the back of the truck and like open it up, and there's a bunch of blankets. And I look for his bag. There's just a ton of fireworks in the back of the car. And yeah. And so I don't know why the idea of watching someone's hard-earned money get launched into the air and explode without it ever being utilized anymore was so attractive to me. But I just fell in love with it from a young age. When springtime would come around, I would get so excited because summer was right around the corner, and I'd go online and I'd start looking at the new products and the new deals, and I would figure out how many lawns I had to mow and how many golf balls and waters I had to sell to the guys that playing golf in my backyard for me to be able to buy fireworks. It was so unhealthy. So fast forward, I'm 12 years old. I think I just finished 5th grade, and we moved to a new house. And it was June. We moved right when school got out. And 4th of July, my dad had a bunch of people over. Our backyard is still filled with dirt because we don't have grass yet. And he was barbecuing, and everyone was having fun. But I didn't really care about the food. I was more focused on the smiley face fireworks that we had that would go and make a smiley face when they exploded. And so I'm right about to launch one off, and then I hear these explosions like boom, 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 and a bunch of rockets flying everywhere. And I look down, and it's my neighbors from 3 doors down who I'd never met before. And I look at my dad like, "What? We have competition?" And so after the show that night, needless to say, my neighbors had some firepower as well. And after we cleaned up, we went over and helped him clean up. And we started talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I get them from like some supplier in Wisconsin." And so I was like, "Okay," and I just blurted out like, "So can we buy with you next year?" And he kind of chuckled, and he was like, "Sure." He like ended up emailing me the website, and I go on there. And I regret to inform you that by July 5th, that same year, I had already planned out the firework order that we were going to make for the following year. So next year rolls around, and my dad's like, all right, buddy, like, let's stick to 12 items this year. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Like, I know exactly what 12 items we're going to get. So I go on, and I handwrite the order, and I walk down, and I deliver it to my neighbor. And he's like, cool, I'll let you know. A couple weeks go by. My dad calls me from downstairs. I was in our basement probably studying quantum engineering or something like that. Probably. And he's like, he knew he had me on a string because he was buying these fireworks. So he was like, all right, go down and like talk to the neighbor. He has something to tell you. So I go down there, and he's like, all right, fireworks are coming in a week. Get excited. And he's like, oh, yeah, here's like the invoice. And I was like, invoice? What does that mean? And I'm looking at all the things that we purchased. I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. And then I see the little rectangle box at the bottom with a dollar sign in it. And it says $2,800. And so what I failed to realize, for you that have been to Costco before, you know, like, you can't buy one thing. You have to buy the whole pack. Well, I thought I was buying retail fireworks. But in fact, I was buying wholesale fireworks. So instead of 12 items, I was buying 12 whole cases. And those cases had anywhere from 12 to 24 items in them. So my pool table was pretty much stacked to the ceiling that year with illegal fireworks that were considered contraband. And there's no way to get a refund. The fireworks were already halfway across the country. My parents didn't talk the entire week leading up to the 4th of July. So it was a bit stressful. So luckily, my parents didn't hate me. They realized like the excitement that I had and the passion that I had for blowing things up, which is a whole nother story. But luckily, my parents did start talking again, so that's a good sign. And what I realized from this 4th of July is to never give up on your dreams, because all I wanted to do when I was 12 years old was to become a pyrotechnician, and you bet your bottom dollar that summer of 2009, I was a pyrotechnician. And how many of you in here could say that you know someone that achieved their dream job when they were 12 years old? Exactly. So, in the wise words of my neighbor, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So you guys should never be scared to go out with a bang.
Interesting. Well, that's funny. Yeah, 12 cases, holy moly.
You should have seen the look on my mom's face.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet. That was probably almost a divorce immediately.
Yeah.
Like, you did what?
So what I didn't include is my dad's a salesman, so like naturally he just like goes into panic mode. He puts all these like $100 packages together and like sells them black market to all of his friends, which you could probably get in way more trouble for actually having them. But we ended up making all of our money back, and we had about half the fireworks that we started with. So we still had like the greatest fireworks show I've ever experienced.
There you go.
So
And the cops didn't come and stop it or anything?
they came, but they ended up watching. Like, they were not concerned. I mean, we like do it safely. We like glue the things down to the boards and stuff, so like no one's gonna get hurt. But it was so funny. Like, the cops just like rolled by, parked their car, and just like were sitting there, probably enjoying it. I can't think of any other thing that they would have been doing.
Well, if you want a good fireworks show, go with the Fillmore. I mean, it's like Vietnam. I mean, they sell it everywhere, in every street. It's just explosions and illegals going on, and it's the entire city.
Yeah.
Because it's the only place you can go in Ventura County and do it legally.
Really, you can do it?
Yeah, the whole city you can do